Hi, Shelley.
Okay, just testing. Morning, Margot. I've muted you guys at home now. Just testing you can hear me well enough this morning. Someone give me a thumbs up. Beauty, thank you. So I wanted you to come up into standing because I thought over the next couple of weeks, as well as loosening up all the sore bits from too much gardening, that's what we've had in here, and too much physio, which always disturbs me a little, but only because you're strengthening. I also thought it'd be really good to focus a little bit on our breath. Because I don't know about you guys, but whether you're sitting too much on a computer or you're just feeling the magnitude of all the things that are going on, you might notice that your breath may not be as regular and as natural as it could be. So it's really easy when we have life stress or sit too much for us to stifle our diaphragm and to have periods during the day where you might hold your breath. Yep. If you're holding your breath, you might feel that tension across here where your diaphragm is. So I'm deliberately slumping because I feel like that's sort of where I'm hanging out and lots of people are hanging out. And the other thing that happens is if you start holding your breath, you'll end up taking deep breaths sometimes, then little normal breaths, then deep breaths, then holds, and you develop this really irregular breath pattern. So ideally through our somatic awareness of our whole being, including our breath, we want to develop a really natural physiological breath that is really gentle, ideally nasally, but doesn't have to be nasally. If you find that you have to breathe through your mouth, all I want you to do is try and breathe more gently. So gentle breath is my word of the day and probably for the next couple of sessions. So I want to show you this little test. Take what you would call a normal breath in for you with your hand just underneath your nostrils. And as you breathe out, notice how far across your fingers the breath goes. And then do it again. So take a normal breath for you and breathe out and notice how far across your hand the warmth goes. Now take a really deep breath in. So a deep diaphragmatic breath. And breathe out. And notice how far across your hand goes. So in a normal physiological breath, so that means just a really relaxed natural breath, we'll only feel the air warmth on the first finger. So one of the things that happens in yoga is we learn how to use our diaphragm, but some of the current research is saying that we also sometimes overbreathe, as in we breathe too deeply all the time. So we all know how good it is to breathe deep and to remember that it needs to be gentle. So all I want you to do today is see, could you make your breath a little gentler than it was when you, particularly if your breath went past your second finger on a normal breath. So at any time during class, if you want to check it out, just what would a gentle breath be like for you? And we've all washed and sanitized our hands, so it's okay. And then stand for me. So that's just something for you to play with. If you've been breathing really deeply all day, every day, and your lungs are overinflated, you can't go from really deep to really gentle overnight. You have to gradually do it. So all I want you to do is make your breath a little gentler than it is. So as you stand, start to notice how you've aligned yourself. Notice the weight on your feet. Imagine your pelvis like a ball, like a sphere. And notice, have you tipped? And let's do it. Once you get a sense of where you are, have a notice where your ball is. What would it feel like if you were to slump, soften your knees and roll the pelvis ball back? Notice what happens in your rib cage. Yeah, and then notice what would happen if you roll the sphere or the pelvis forward, how your knees lock a little more, and notice how the ribs move back and the ball of the ribs move back. And then see if you can find sort of a place where the ball of your pelvis is in the middle. And then have a think about where the ball of your ribs are. And notice, even once you find neutral in your pelvis or the ball is level, where are your ribs? Don't change it, just notice it. And you might want to put your hands on the front and the back and just have a feel. And notice, is there more tension at the back where the diaphragm is? Is there tension in the front? And then lastly, notice where the ball of your head is. And then just do one lap around your room. And I want you to see if you can sense how those 3 balls stack on top of each other. Feel free, guys, to, you probably need to do little loops either side of the camera. And just notice how the balls stack on top of each other. And then come and lay down onto your back. And your choice, you can lay down with your legs long or your knees bent. Just a reminder, if you're at home, make sure you have me on speaker view. A couple of people last week were looking at me in a tiny little gallery view. Makes it easier if you're in speaker view. And can you sense how the balls sit here? So the ball of the pelvis. And once you get the hard floor underneath you, you can start to sense not only how your ball is sitting in the, dimensions or the direction of your feet and your head, but also if your ball is tilted to the left or to the right. Think of it like a ball or a sphere. And then once you get a sense of where the ball of the pelvis is, notice how that affects your feet. Notice the weight on your feet. And then bring your awareness to the ball of your ribs or the barrel of your ribs. And again, notice, first of all, the relationship between the ball or the barrel of the ribs and your head and your tail. So if the ribs are poking up at the front, it's like the ball at the bottom is tipping up to the ceiling. And so notice that that means there's more tension often in the back at the top. And maybe the other way around, maybe the ribs are sunk down at the front or the ball's down at the front, and therefore the shoulders are up. See if you can get a sense of that relationship with the ball or the barrel. And then also look at it from a left and right direction. And then lastly, your head. And notice how your arms and legs fall around that. So if the ribs are rolled or the ball's rolled to one side, you might notice that that arm and that shoulder press down into the floor more than the other side. And then notice your breath. Notice on the floor how gentle your breath is. Feel free to test with your hand if you wish. And notice, where is the epicenter of your breath? If you think of your breath like an earthquake that has an epicenter, where does your breath start? And just allow the breath to flow in and out on its own without any control. Notice the quality. Is it smooth? Is it jerky? Notice, is it easier for you to take breath in or to let your breath out? In normal physiological breathing, we're breathing with, or natural, it's probably another way to say it, natural physiological breath. We're actually breathing with our diaphragm. The chest stays still. And it's this gentle rise and fall of your solar plexus area. Notice what you notice. Sense what you sense. In this time of COVID-19, so many things keep changing. And there's almost that sense of needing to hold your breath, to hold on to what you know. And yet, if we can let the breath be gentle and natural and just flow, it allows us to flow with the changes and to come back to center time and time again. And so bring your hands to your heart space and take a moment this morning to set an intention. What do you need from your practice? What do you need to remember? And hold it deeply in your heart space. Atha, yoga, new shasanam. It is, with great respect and infinite love for ourselves and all beings, that we now come to this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. Gently releasing your hands down beside you. And the next time you breathe in, let your belly be really relaxed. And let your pelvis start to roll. And if you think of your pelvis like a ball or a bowl of water, it's like you're pouring the water over the front of your pubic bone. But also notice what happens to the ball of your ribs as you arch your back. Notice what happens to the sphere of the head. And then let your back melt. Just let your back go like warm honey drizzling onto the morning porridge. And let your back soften. Just come to neutral. And do that again. Roll the ball of your pelvis towards your feet. Notice how the ball of the ribs rolls the other way. Maybe your chin softens towards your chest. And then let your back soften. Let your back soften. Like pancake batter in a hot pan, just let your back spread towards the floor. And do that again, breathing in and arching. And notice when you pause at the top, have you rolled your ball not only towards your feet, but towards one side? And if you have, you'll feel how there might be slightly more weight on one foot. So acknowledge that. And then let's go all the way into the flatten today. And roll your pelvis, but go into a flatten on a diagonal. So you're drawing the opposite shoulder and pelvis towards one another. So if you think about the balls in this one, you're rolling the ball of the pelvis towards the shoulder and the ball of the ribs towards the pelvis on the diagonal. And then super slow, let the front of the body release to bring everything back to neutral, wherever that is. And do that one again. So roll the ball of your pelvis. Notice that if you're rocking towards one side of your pelvis, you're going to exaggerate that. It's like you're rolling the ball slightly to the right or left. And consciously press the opposite shoulder back. Feel what happens to the ball of your rib cage. And then slowly let your back melt. Say hello to neutral and then go past it. And you're flattening the back this time. Now you're rolling the ribs towards the pelvis on the diagonal. The ball rolls that way. And the pelvic ball rolls towards the ribs and towards the opposite shoulder. Let your head move and notice what it does. And then super slow, come back to neutral by letting go of the front. And pause for a moment. Notice the power of this practice. Because I'm level now, I don't know about you guys. But notice how's that changed where you are sitting on the floor, just from one move. And then let's go to the second diagonal. So I'm using this image of the balls, but if you prefer, thinking about the ropes on the diagonal, please do what you know. Otherwise, roll the ball of your pelvis towards the opposite side of the pelvis, or like you're rolling it to the opposite foot. Press the diagonal shoulder back. Feel the back contracting on that diagonal, and then just super slow, let that go. And now feel like you're rolling the balls together on the diagonal. So you tuck your tail, your pelvis rolls towards your ribs, and your ribs roll towards your pelvis. Shoulder comes off the floor. Let your head move if you can. And then super slow, smoothly, easily, releasing the front of the body and switch off. Notice the weight on your arms. Notice the weight on your feet. So you can do this diagonal 2 more times. So rolling the ball towards the opposite foot. It's like you're pouring the water out of the pelvis, but slightly towards this side. Press the diagonal shoulder back. Then let your back go. Sink in the center. rolling your pelvis and your rib cage towards one another. And then super, super slowly come back to level and switch off. Do one more on your own if you need it. Try and let your head move along for the ride. And then when you've completed, come back to center. Karen's cats are cold. They keep sitting on top of her. I don't blame them, it's cold. And just notice your imprint as you come back now to the floor and see if you can pick up any subtle difference. Notice the weight in your feet, notice the weight in your hands. And come back to your breath. Every time we pause today, I just want you to notice what you notice about your breath. Where does your breath start? How does it feel? And then take both your hands onto the front of your ribs and come up as high as is comfortable on your chest. So you want to have as much of your hand on your rib cage as you can. Take a breath in, and as you breathe in, roll the ball of your pelvis towards both feet. Roll the ball of the ribs towards your head. Notice how your ribs expand into your hands. And now let your back go. You're going to sink your ribs down. It's like you're rolling the ball of your ribs to your pelvis, and you roll the pelvis ball to your ribs. And sink your ribs down with your hand. Put a little bit of pressure down to the floor and down towards your pelvis. And now take a gentle breath in wherever you can, which will probably be more to the back or the sides. And then as you breathe out, maybe take your ribs a little lower. Remember, stay in your comfort. You don't want any spasm feelings or discomfort here. And now very, very slowly, as you breathe in, soften your belly and let your pelvis ball roll back to neutral and your ribs roll back to neutral, and switch off. Everyone okay with that? Yeah? And do that again. So hands on your ribs as high as is comfortable. As you breathe in, feel like the ball of your pelvis rolls towards your feet, and notice how the rib ball will roll towards your head and your chin might actually soften to your chest. And then let your back go, let it melt. And then roll your pelvis ball towards your ribs and sink your ribs down as you roll your whole rib ball. So that means your shoulders come off the floor, yeah? Because if your ribs are a ball, you can't sink down the front without affecting the top. And then maybe your head tips back. Hold that there and breathe to wherever you can. And then super, super slow, let that go. Bring your hands off your body. Take a breath and notice how that feels in your lower ribs. And let's do it one more time. Inhale, roll the ball of the ribs the ball of the pelvis towards your feet. Let the ball of your ribs expand towards your head. Maybe your chin more softened to your chest. Then let your back go and sink in the center. Like you're rolling two balls towards one another. The sphere of the pelvis, the sphere of the ribs. Head might tip back. Hold your ribs there as you take a breath into wherever you can in the back. And then super, super slow. Soften the belly, soften through the ribs, switch off. Just notice. Notice what you sense, notice what you feel. And then take your hands and interlace them behind your head. I want you to imagine that you have a friend who's lying or behind you and they've wrapped their hands onto your ribs. Yeah, this is a time where I wish we had two sets of arms, so 4 arms and 4 hands, because I would really like you to imagine that there's hands still on your rib cage. So take a breath in and gently arch, and as you arch and your shoulders press back, you might imagine the ball of your ribs rolling back and your hands being breathed into if they're still on your ribs. And then as you breathe out, let your back go. Let your elbows come together and now sink your ribs like your hands are still on your ribs and come on up into your arch and curl. Elbows are pointing towards your knees. And now very, very slowly, start to lengthen the front of the body to lower your head down. I want you to go slower than you normally would. So if you're already down, just exhale and come up again. Take at least 4 breaths. Could you go that slow? Because when you get to your ribs, I really want you to see, could you imagine that you're lifting one rib off the one below it, like you're very slowly easing out a rope to lower the head. I think I even took more than 4 breaths. And once your head touches down, bring your arms down beside you. Is that okay in everybody's backs this morning to do an arch and curl? Yeah? Everyone okay at home? Yep, great. Wonderful. Thanks for your thumbs up. And then let's do that again. So imagining your hands are still on those ribs, breath in and arch. And so as you arch, feel like your ribs are opening into your hands. And then as you breathe out, let your back go, tuck your elbows in, sink your ribs down like the hands are still on them. And then your head just lifts up. It's like an afterthought. And now super slow. So could you please try to take at least 4 breaths to go down? When you start moving through your ribs, imagine that you're lifting one rib off the one below it. And sometimes as I do this, I feel like I want to just do a little side bend as I go down. So it's not through your neck, but you're literally just doing like a zigzag shoulders. You're opening through your ribs. And then bring your head down, let everything switch off. Notice your imprint now. Notice your breath. So often what we're trying to do with this practice on a breath focus is we're trying to undo the tension so that our breath can return to its natural physiological breath, gentle diaphragmatic movement. We're literally unraveling. So you don't have to do anything. You have to undo. Yeah? And then take your hands onto your body for a diaphragm pump. So here we're really focus the attention into the diaphragm. So hands on your belly and a hand is on your chest. You're imagining, just to set it up, to remind you, you're imagining there's a balloon in your belly and a balloon in your chest that have already been inflated and now they're deflated. So they're, they're soft and pliable. Of course, the air is only going to go into your lungs, but you imagine as you breathe in now that you're breathing into that balloon in your belly. Hold your breath in, and can you allow your chest to receive that air into that balloon? And can then you allow your belly, so go slow. Rather than force it, can you allow it? So as the belly goes down, you have to let go through your chest. And as the chest balloon gets tightened, you have to let go through your belly. When you need to breathe out, breathe out. So there's 2 ways we can do a diaphragm pump. We can force the air, really work hard at it, or we can think about allowing the balloon to inflate and then contracting that balloon and allowing the other balloon to inflate. So do it one more time in the center. Feel your diaphragm around your lower ribs. at the sides and the back, moving up and down, and then let it go. And then let's have a crack today at doing it on a diagonal, even if you have to imagine this. So place your hands on your lower belly on one side, your abdomen, and your diagonal hand is on the chest. So imagine those two balloons now have moved to the sides where your hands are. And I often imagine I'm almost squeezing the balloons with my hands. And then see if you could breathe into the balloon in the belly on the side. And then take it up into the side of your chest. It amazes me what you can do when you imagine. Because remember, the same areas of your brain light up as if you're actually doing it. You mightn't be able to do it for as long. Breathe out when you need to breathe out. And maybe do it one more time on this diagonal. So you'll breathe into that side of your abdomen. And then allow it into that side of the chest diagonally, back into the abdomen, chest. Breathe out when you need to. And then swap your hands over. So we unconsciously chose the easier side. So on this side, just allow it to be a smaller movement. You don't have to inflate your balloon too high. So breathe into that balloon. And then take it into the other side of the chest, into the abdomen, chest. And breathe out when you need to. I'm curious, in your soma, is this second side of your chest the tighter side of your back? Just, yeah, it's for me too. I'm just curious whether it's like that for you at home. So then take a breath into the balloon in your abdomen on the diagonal and move it into that side of your chest. Close your eyes. If you're really struggling with this, you might even not even do it, but imagine you're doing it. Remember, it's about letting go, not forcing. Notice how when it's hard, we go back to that pattern of over-efforting. Well, I do. And maybe do one more on this diagonal, just to see if you can allow it. See if you can allow it. Don't force it. What do you need to let go of to allow the diaphragm to move in this way? And then completely let it go. Hands down beside you. Notice your breath. Bless you. No, you're all right. Okay, and then let's come into a flower. So taking all that we've done thus far into this flower move. So you could have your hands on your ribs for the first one if you find that's helpful. Take a breath in, let your back arch, let your legs go wide as you press your shoulders back. Notice what your spheres are doing. As you exhale, sink in the center, squeeze your knees in, let your shoulders move towards the midline. Your arms will roll in if your arms are down beside you, or you press the ribs down with your hands. And now, could you slowly just come back to neutral? Watch you don't go all the way back into your arch, but rather release to neutral. Now let's do it again. And if you'd like your arms down beside you this time, feel free to come into that version. Notice where you start. Do you start with your palms down? Do you start with your palms up? Doesn't matter. Take a breath in, arch your back. Roll your arms like rolling pins as your shoulder blades move diagonally across towards your opposite pelvis. Legs are wide. Let go of your back. Sink in a center. Roll your ribs. Let your arms roll in like rolling pins as you squeeze your knees, and your head will naturally tip back as a reaction to the movement of the ball of the ribs. Super slow. Come back to neutral and switch off. And do that again. Breath in and arch. Let your arms roll back. Let your knees go wide. Sink in the center. Spiraling everything to the midline. And then super slow. Let go and come back to center. And pause here and notice your imprint. Notice where your arms have rolled to. Notice your breath. Where is your epicenter of your breath now? Nice. And then pick up one leg and take your foot off the floor and take your opposite hand behind your head. So we're doing a diagonal arch and curl with the leg slide. So your spare hand can come to the front of this thigh. Take a breath in and gently arch your back and press your shoulder blade down. Imagine that diagonal rope tightening across your back. Could you let your leg float away as you do that? Then as you breathe out, let your back go. You tuck your elbow in. You're sitting on up, but remember this is more about rotation. Let your leg come in and stop the thigh from moving closer. Now, super slow, start to lengthen across on that diagonal to bring your head down. Once your head touches down, bring your arm down. Then you'll touch your foot, heel to the floor. Touch your foot to the floor, I should say, and slowly release your leg to long. Switch everything off. Let's start the next one with the leg long. Hip, knee, and toes point to the ceiling. Spin around. See. And hand behind your head. Take a breath in and gently arch your back. Draw your toes up towards you. As you breathe out, keep your head on the ground. Just tuck your elbow in because I'm going to frog leg the leg up today. So as you frog leg the leg up, you're on the outer blade of the foot. Make sure your other pelvis is still grounded. So you might let that other knee roll out. And once your heel is close to your pelvis, then you lift up and curl. So now your elbow is sort of still pointing towards your knee. Stop your thigh with your hand. Keep it still. Super slow, release your upper body. Once your head touches down, bring your arm down. You're going to touch your heel down and slide that leg towards long, keeping your back really relaxed. Switch everything off. Let's do one more. Hip, knee, and toes point to the ceiling. Hand behind the head. Inhale and arch, pressing the elbow back if it's comfortable for your shoulder. As you breathe out, just tuck your elbow in, keep your head down. If you don't like taking your leg out to the side, if it's not right for your back, keep your knee pointing up. Otherwise, leg out to the side. Other leg rolls out, remember, to keep the pelvis level. Come all the way in, and then you'll sink down through your lower back. You'll flatten your back as you lift your foot, and then you lift your head. Still rotating, and stop your leg with your hand. Super slow, release the upper body. Touch the head down, release, touch your foot down, and slow motion. Switch everything off as your leg is long. Straighten your second leg for a moment and notice your imprint, but also notice your breath when your legs are long. If you can notice any tension in your belly when your legs are long. Because your abdominal muscles are more in a stretch here. So just notice how that feels for you. And then frog leg, both legs up. And let's go to the other side. So opposite foot off the floor, hand behind the head. Inhale, gentle arch. Let your thigh nod away. So you want your hip flexors to switch off a bit there as you arch. Then breathe out, let your back go. Tuck your elbow in, sit on up in the diagonal, and now stop your thigh. Don't let your leg move. It's the anchor point, if you like, of the rope of your abdominals that are slowly now lowering your head. Touching your head down, your arm down. Touch your foot and slide your leg towards long. Let's start this next one with the leg long. So hip, knee and toes point to the ceiling. Inhale and arch, pressing the shoulder back with your hand behind your head. Breathe out, just tuck the elbow in, keep the head down for now. You frog leg your leg up, and I want your pelvis and back to stay level. So that often means you need to roll that other leg out. And then sink in the center. So release your back to come on up, lifting your foot off the floor. and your elbow is still pointing to your knee. You can resist your leg with your hand, but go gentle when it's out to the side like so. Slow motion release your upper body. Head touches down. Foot touches down and slide. Completely switch off. Hip, knee and toe face the ceiling. Inhaling arch with your hand behind your head. Let your back go, tuck your elbow in. Slide your leg up. Then sink, so flatten your back a little more as you come and lift the foot off the floor. Stop your thigh, so my hand's sort of more to the inner thigh. And then super slow release. So you want to keep your pelvis and lower back released here. So remember that first leg might need to roll out a little to act like a weight to keep your pelvis grounded. Head touches down, arm touches down, leg touches down. Slowly release. And slide both legs along. Notice your imprint from your feet and your hands to your head. Notice your breath. Notice if there's still that tension in your belly, if there was halfway. It's one of the reasons I love that leg slide with an arch and curl is that you're releasing not only your hip flexors, but your abdominals, your diaphragm, everything that your hip flexors attach to. So then frog leg your legs back up. Nice. And then roll yourself onto one side. Doesn't matter which side. And we're going to stay here for a little bit. So you might, and we're going to work on the ribs. So you might like something underneath your head. So if you've got a cushion, does anyone need anything here or you're okay? Great. And so it really doesn't matter where your knees are so much for this. And you decide, I have long arms, so I always have to remember this. I like to bring my bottom hand up onto the top of my ribs, yeah? But it's not comfortable for everybody. So the other option would be you take your top hand onto your ribs, yeah? And your elbow would point up to the ceiling. So just have a feel of which one works better for you. So it could be your top hand or the bottom hand reaching up. And then as you pause here on your side, just take a moment to breathe in and notice, where does your breath go when you lie on your side? And imagine all your ribs are like little clamshells. And the next time you breathe in, could you imagine the bottom of your ribs opening up like a clamshell, the ones you're lying on? And then when you breathe out, can you sink your ribs down, the top ribs down towards your pelvis? You might even want to lift your head as long as there's no strain in your neck. And feel your ribs sinking down towards the floor and towards your pelvis. If it's not comfortable for your neck, just make your pillow higher and keep your head rested down. And now hold your ribs down and breathe into those bottom ribs again. Imagine them opening up like a concertina door or a clamshell. And then as you breathe out, maybe you move a little more, or maybe it's just a softening. And now super slow, breathe into the ribs on the top. So if you took your pillow high, you might have to let it roll down so that you can slowly open up the ribs. So not a big move. Is everyone okay with this? Yeah? Good, okay. And sometimes if it's comfortable, you can even have both your hands on top of your ribs, yeah? So I've put my bottom hand and then I've taken my top hand on top with my elbow pointing to the ceiling, as long as that's okay for your shoulder. Take a breath in. Feel the bottom ribs open up like clamshells. Then breathe out. Sink the top ribs down towards your pelvis and towards the floor. Head lifts if it's comfortable. Keep looking diagonally to the floor. And then super slow, start to breathe into your top ribs and let them slowly open up. You can imagine that clamshell or concertina idea and switch everything off. Everyone okay with their neck? Yeah? Liv, you're okay? Yep. Okay. All right. And then this time, let's add reaching with your arm. So have your arm alongside your body. Bring your knees up so that you're more in a right angle because it's the part of a side bend, yeah? Have your toes forward so you can just see your toes beyond your knees. Check that you're right on your side. Take a breath in. Feel the bottom ribs open up. And I want to start lifting actually on the in-breath. So choose what you do. And then as you breathe out, reach your hand down like you're reaching to the bottom of your mat. Remember, if you want to lift your legs, you can, but your arms and legs are like lines of traffic going through the checkpoint. Okay, they're not trying to touch. They've got to stay 1.5 meters apart. No, not that far. And then super, super slow, start to open up through your ribs. And lower yourself back down. One more. Breath into those bottom ribs. If you want to start to lift as the bottom ribs open, please do. Finish your exhale as you're reaching towards the bottom of your mat. Try not to strain your neck so you're looking to the floor or to your thumb of your arm that's on the ground. Legs can lift as your pelvis rolls to your ribs. Feel how your whole side's concertinaed now. And super, super slow, start to open up through your side and let yourself pause onto your side. Then take your pillow away if you want to for arm slide, or just make it flutter. And start to slide your hand forward, turning your ribs towards the floor. Slowly roll your ribs open. So if you're thinking like, if you want like to stay with the ball idea, it's just like you're rolling the ball towards your top shoulder and your top shoulder follows. And then you roll your ribs like a ball back towards the floor and your arm follows and you slide your hand. Take your knees a little lower. So open up the angle in your pelvis and then roll the ball of your ribs and maybe you go a bit further. Maybe not. It's all about rolling the ball. And notice, can the ball of your head follow? Feel free to have something underneath your head if that's more comfortable for your neck. You don't want any strain in your neck. And then pause on your side and keep going with that if you prefer, or go into propeller. So you'll bend up the bottom knee a little higher, turn your chest towards the floor. As you turn your chest, you take your top leg higher and your leg back, and then roll your ribs like a ball. So the ball of your ribs rolls open as your leg comes forward and your arm rolls back. Think about the ribs rolling like a ball and the pelvis rolling, and your arm and leg are just being dragged along. Yeah? The emphasis is in the center. And then when you're ready, you're going to roll over onto your back. Notice your imprint. And as you take a breath in, see if you can sense any difference between the side of your ribs that we've just had uppermost and the side of the ribs that were under you. Might be nice to take a moment to really say hello to your lungs. So as you breathe in, on your right side, you have 3 sections of your lung. And on your left side, you have 2 larger sections. And so depending which side you were just lying on, see if you can sense how, if your ribs can let go, if the muscles between your ribs can let go, if we can undo the tension, it's then easier for your lungs to expand. 2 sections on the left, 3 sections on the right. So important at the moment that you breathe through your nose as much as you possibly can. Because our nose is very powerful at filtering what we breathe in. Can you feel the difference? Yeah? Not sure? And then when you're ready, thumbs up at home. I like that. Thanks. Thanks, Carleen. And then when you're ready, roll over onto your other side. So this is your other side for a reason. Whatever that reason is, remember all we're trying to do here is undo tension. This is a practice of letting go and releasing by being aware. Yeah. So set yourself up for your ribs first. So you might have your bottom hand reaching up or your top hands on it with your elbow up, or both. Make sure you've got a comfortable position for your neck. Take a breath in. And you might notice that those bottom ribs that we've just released can open quite easily. And then sink your ribs down as you breathe out. Option to lift your head if it feels right. And then super, super slow, start to open up through the ribs to lower the head. Switch off, relax your shoulder for a moment so you can let your arm come down if you've got the arm up. And then once again, breathe into the bottom ribs. Feel them open and expand. Breathe out, sink the top ribs. Maybe lift your head. Look where it's comfortable. So chin towards your chest a little. Might be looking towards the bottom elbow or the floor. And then super slow, open up through the ribs. And switch off. Relax your shoulder, relax your arm. Do one more of just the ribs if it's okay for you. So remember, you don't have to move too far. If it's better for your neck to just move a little, then move a little. If you need to even imagine the move, you could imagine the move. Super slow. As you breathe into those top ribs to come out of it, imagine they're opening up like a concertina or clamshells, and switch everything off. Then bring your knees up into that right angle. Bring your toes forward so you can just see your toenails, so your socks. Rosie might be the only one who hasn't got socks on, but I imagine it's cool still in Port Macquarie. Take a breath into your under ribs and reach your hand down towards the bottom of the mat. So remember, your legs and your arms stay like lines of traffic, parallel. You look towards your bottom hand, feel the top ribs expanding as you open the bottom ribs. And then super slow, take as many breaths as you need to open through the top waist, ribs, to lower your head, to lower your legs. So you breathe into the bottom ribs, start to reach your hand towards the bottom of the mat. You lift your feet, you can do one foot or both this morning. Feel your pelvis roll towards your ribs, ribs to your pelvis. Super, super slow. Lengthening through your waist, completely switch off. Nice work. One more if you need it. Don't know. Needs a hard word with that side bend, isn't it? It's not always everyone's favourite. Some people love it. And then we're going into arm slides. So now roll the ribs like a ball, sliding your hand to the floor, and then roll your ribs and just let your arm get dragged along. Roll your ribs. So it's like you're putting moisturizer on your skin. So you're just dragging your arm across your body. And so your shoulder would come to the floor because that would be the ball touching down before your elbow, before your hand, if that was going to happen. The next time you turn your chest to the floor, pause, take your hand a little higher if it's comfortable, make sure your bottom knee is bent up, straighten the top leg, off into your propeller. So rolling the ribs open, the arm can either still go across the body or over your head as your leg comes forward. And then you roll your ribs like a ball towards the floor. Pelvis rolls towards the floor as your leg goes back. Enjoy your propeller. And when you're finished, I want you to pause on your side. Pausing on your side and then gently come up into sitting. Or standing or a high kneel. We're going to do a bit more release through your neck. So if you're comfortable sitting down any way you can sit. If you've got long arms and your fingers touch the floor, you might even want to be up in the high kneel. And if that's not right for your knees, stand up. So whatever, because we're just going to do some release. So if you want to stand, feel free to stand. And so just notice the position of your hands. So we'll all have a natural position where our hands are fallen, maybe palms facing our thighs seems to be majority today. And then sniff your shoulders up to your ears. And then super slow, like raindrops going down through or on the window. Just let your shoulders release about 3/4 of the way and switch off. Just let gravity do the rest. And again, sniff up. And then 3/4 of the way down, letting them melt like warm honey drizzling off a spoon. Switch off. Now turn your palms to face behind you. If your palms are facing in, and sniff up. Hold them really tense and then just slow motion release. Completely switch off about 3/4 of the way. One more. And slowly release. Like warm honey drizzling off a spoon. And then could you go to turn your palms towards the front without tensing between your shoulder blades? So there'll be a point. If you go further, you'll feel how you tense your back. So you just want to find where you are that's soft in your back. Sniff your shoulders up. And super slow release. One more sniff. And super slow release. And pause for a moment. If you're already standing, stay there. For those who aren't quite in standing, come with me. Rock back. Actually, if you're in standing, roll down through your center and let's all meet hanging. So as you hang here in your forward bend, remember you could have your elbows on your thighs if you need that support, or hang. I want you to notice your breath and see if you can send the breath into the back of the ribs. And as you breathe out, just let your breath soften, like it's meandering down and out through the crown of your head. Let your head go. Maybe a little nod, yes. Maybe a little shake, no. And then tuck your tail and slowly roll all the way up into standing. And as you come to stand, soften your eyes or close your eyes and straight away just notice, where are the balls? The ball of your pelvis, the ball of your ribs, the ball of your head. And then roll yourself down. So think about the ball of your head moving first, chin to chest. Then start to roll the ball of your ribs. Then notice how the ball of your pelvis follows along and it actually lifts up. Let your knees be soft. You can hang. And then to come up, bend your knees and start to move the ball of your pelvis first. Then the ball of your ribs. Then the ball of your head. And notice where they stack. I'm going to do it one more time. Nod, yes. Move the ball of your head first, then the ball of your ribs. Then the ball of your pelvis follows and it actually goes higher. Make sure your knees are really soft. Please feel free to stop with your elbows and your thighs. And then tuck your tail and roll up. So the ball of your pelvis moves first. It's really tempting to move your ribs first. See if you can move your ball of your pelvis first, then your ribs, then your head. And then just stand. Notice how you're feeling. Notice the weight on your feet, your knees, your pelvis. And if we were to think about where the balls are stacked, notice where they're stacked. And off you go. Just do one little walk and then come back to lie down on your mat. Does it feel different? How's your back, Brian?
Yeah,
Still sore, yeah? And you're limp and sore? I was curious to see whether all of that releasing your front changed your back. Not necessarily. Okay, and come down to the floor. Good. And so roll yourself back down. Notice how you're feeling at home. And always remember, when we come to class, if you're at home, you can always put in the chat if you've got particular aches and pains. I got a few in here when we arrived. And then come down onto your back. And let's do a little bit more integration before Yoga Nidra, through the pelvis and into some wash rags. So bring your hands onto your pelvis like you're cranky with someone. That was a good sigh. So you might need to sigh. If you're really cranky with someone, take a breath in and sigh it out. And then turn your pelvis like it's a steering wheel. So hitch up the side that is higher and slowly bring it back to level. And then go the other way. And come back to level. And then go to the first side. Pause, take your hand down to the floor and reach your hand down towards your foot. So zigzag shoulders. So your head's got to follow and the opposite shoulder goes up towards your ear, a bit like we were just doing with the sniff. Remember, your back stays relaxed here. So if your back is tense, you might need to arch and then release it. And then slowly bring your pelvis back to level and your ribs and shoulders. Let's do that again. Turn your steering wheel towards the first side. Without arching your back, reach down towards the floor. So you might go towards your foot. Rather, you may not go as far. Other shoulder comes up towards your ear. So notice how one side of your ribs are opening, one side of the ribs have closed down. Super slow. Come back to level. And then go the other way. So you turn the steering wheel gently. You reach down towards your foot. Slow motion, come back to level and switch off. Turn your steering wheel of your pelvis towards the second side. Slide your hand down towards your foot. And then slowly come back. Now check if your pelvis is level. If it's not, do any little move that you need to with your steering wheel. And then let's come into a wash rag. So rolling your pelvis and your legs towards the left, for example, you roll the left arm down and roll the right arm up. Turn and look towards your upturned hand. Then let your pelvis just roll back to level and go the other way. So remember, you're not arching your back at all here. If you feel any pressure in your back when you come back to center, do a little arch and flatten. And then roll your pelvis to the first side, rolling the arm down towards the knees like a rolling pin. Other arm rolls up. Come back to center. Pelvis to the second side, rolling down. You choose one more time each side, or if you're ready for Yoga Nidra, then you could prepare yourself for Yoga Nidra. Make sure you are warm. It's not super warm. It's got colder here than it was at 5 o'clock when I was here. So make sure you're warm. So take your time to make sure you're really comfortable. And as you settle down onto the floor this morning, start to notice, one, what your imprint is like, but also your breath. Where is the epicenter of your breath? Start to follow your breath. And notice the natural, gentle breath in through the nostrils. Notice the natural pause at the top of the breath. And then follow the exhaling breath and the warm air leaving your body. Notice, where does your breath travel in your body? Does it easily move into your lower lungs and ribs? Does the breath move into the back of the body and the front of the body? Notice what you notice. Sense what you sense. And then start to take your awareness away from the breath to the noises outside of the room. Become aware of the noises outside of the room. And move your awareness from noise to noise. And letting go of this. And bring your awareness to any noises within the room. Notice the noises within the room. And see if you can hear them as a vibration. Moving your awareness from vibration to vibration. And bring your awareness to the sounds within your body, your heartbeat and pulse. And then let go of this. And now it is time to make a resolve or a sankalpa.
Resolve is something that you've forgotten about your true self. And you state it in a way that it already is. I am. With feeling and awareness. Repeat it to yourself 3 times. Then let go of this. Now it is time to rotate your awareness around the physical body. As I mentioned, the parts of your body feel, sense, and release that which is named. Bringing all of your awareness to the thumb of your right hand, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, the palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, your right shoulder and armpit, the right side of your chest and waist, hip, thigh, knee and kneecap, shin, calf, ankle, heel, the sole of the right foot, top of the right foot, your right big toe, second, third, fourth, fifth. Feel, sense and release the whole of the right arm and the right leg. Bringing all of your awareness to the thumb of your left hand, index finger, middle finger, ring finger, little finger, the palm of the hand, back of the hand, wrist, lower arm, elbow, upper arm, your left shoulder and armpit, the left side of your chest and waist, left hip, thigh, knee and kneecap, shin, calf, ankle, heel, sole of the foot, top of the foot, your left big toe, second, third, fourth, fifth. Feel, sense and release the whole of your left arm and your left leg. Relaxing the back of the heels, calves, and both knees, thighs, right buttock, left buttock, the whole of your pelvis, right side of the lower back, left side of the lower back, all of your abdomen, all of your lower back and abdomen, your diaphragm, ribs, the intercostal muscles between the ribs, breastbone, collarbone, shoulder blade, the space between the shoulder blades, all of your mid-back, the right side of the lung, left lung, all the organs of your chest, your whole chest and mid-back, right side of the neck, left side of the neck, the base of the skull, whole spine, tip of tailbone to base of skull, scalp, skull, brain, forehead, right temple, left temple, right eye, left eye, both eyebrows, the space between the eyebrows, right nostril, left nostril, whole nose, right cheek and jaw, left cheek and jaw, lips, tongue, teeth. Feel, sense and release the whole of your head, neck, trunk, both arms, both legs, your whole body. Feel, sense and release the whole body. Once again, bring your awareness to your breath. And witness your body breathing. Resist the temptation to change it. Almost like you're standing at your feet and you're watching yourself breathe. Witness the body breathe. Notice the natural ebb and flow of the breath. See if you can step back and allow the body to be breathed. Start to follow the breath in, the cool air traveling in through the nostrils. Follow it through to your main airway. And it branches off into the left and the right lung and travels through a series of smaller branches till it reaches the tips of the branches, the alveoli. And see if you can follow the breath back from the tiny air sacs of the alveoli, like the leaves of a tree, through the tiny branches to the larger branches, to the main airway, like the main trunk of a tree. And follow the breath back out, warmed through the nostrils. Follow the breath in through the branches of the airways to the very tips. And as you follow the breath out, mentally say to yourself, 17. Follow the breath in through the airways. Sense how the airways are like a tree. Follow the breath to the very tips of the branches. And as you follow the breath back out, say to yourself, 16. And continue with your own rate and rhythm, watching the body be breathed. Follow the in-breath to the tips of the branches. And as you follow the out-breath, say to yourself, 15. And continue to follow the breath, labeling the out-breath backwards towards 1. Letting go of this. And keeping your awareness at the blank screen of the mind. As I mention these sensations, feel, sense, and remember. Witness Witness a sensation of cold. Cold. And then let go of this. And witness a sensation of heat. Heat. Letting go of this. Witness and recall a sensation of heaviness. Heaviness. Letting go of this. And witness a sensation of lightness. Lightness. Letting go of this. Keeping your awareness at the blank screen of the mind. As I mention these images, feel, sense, and imagine that which is named. The sun rising over the ocean. The sun rising. A tall eucalyptus tree. A tall eucalyptus tree. The sun glistening across the river. The sunlight glistening across the river. Lying beneath a peppercorn tree. Lying beneath your favorite tree. A snow-capped mountain. A snow-capped mountain. The leaves falling around the ginkgo tree. The leaves falling around the ginkgo tree. Waves rising and falling back into the deep ocean. Gentle waves rising and falling back into the ocean. The endless waves rising and falling back into the ocean. letting go of this, and keeping your awareness at the blank screen of the mind. Now it is time to repeat your resolve, exactly as you did at the beginning of this Yoga Nidra. And letting go of this, start to deepen the breath. And draw your breath from the core of the earth. Bring it to your navel and let it spread into every single cell in your body. And as you exhale, feel like you're drawing your breath back from every cell to your center. And send it deep into the earth like an anchor or a root. Continue to breathe in this manner as you begin to move now. Feeling like your practice is fully integrated into your being. And you bring the essence of your practice with you. Moving your fingers and your toes. Maybe bringing your knees into your chest or stretching long. And then gently roll over onto one side and pause there. And then gently make your way up into a seated pose and sit however is comfortable for you. Maybe gently closing the eyes once you arrive, or soften your eyes. And then notice your breath. Follow the natural breath in through your nostrils into your main airway. And notice how your lungs are just like the branches of a tree. The airways get smaller and smaller, moving out to the edges of your lung. And then follow the out breath as it comes from the very tips of the trees, the leaves of the trees if you like. Back to the main airway and out through your nostrils. Let your breath be gentle and easeful. As you follow the next breath in, imagine that you're trying to reach the leaves at the back of the tree, the back of your ribs, the base of your ribs, where your diaphragm attaches to the rib. Still gentle, just direct it there. And then follow the breath back out. One more time on your own. Let go of all breath control. And let's finish this practice with 3 arms. Take a moment this morning if you wish to dedicate this love. We'll rub the palms together, taking a breath in as you open your hands wide. It is with great respect and infinite love that we now conclude this practice. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. I honor that place in you where light, love, and truth dwell. For when you rest in that place in you and I dwell in that place in me, we are one. Namaste.
Thanks, Shelly.
You are welcome.
Thank you, everyone at home.